Well, thank you. That one's a tough conversion for me because, again, my principle on taxes, they ought to be fair and they ought to be at least a flat tax, if not progressive. And the cigarette tax, according to the commissioner's analysis, his department's analysis, is strong a regressive tax. But there's a social purpose beyond the tax purpose, which is to dissuade people from starting to smoke, especially young people, and then to encourage people who are smoking to stop smoking, which is, very difficult to do. So that's the rationale behind it, and that's the way thumbs up. So some people thumbs up, some people thumbs down. That's the nature of the government process.
We've got Terry
You want
over
to say anything to
here.
that?
Terry from International Falls.
Hi, Governor. Welcome to the frozen wastelands. Thanks for coming up about 2/3 of the way to see me up in International Falls. I have a simple question. By the way, some days you really frighten me, and hopefully you can give me the answer to that.
I played hockey in International Falls in 1964. How long have you been there?
That's scary. 47. The answer is, or the question is simple. I'll give you 20 seconds of context to give you a fair chance of giving a meaningful answer. The question is, how much is enough? In 1960, we had $1 billion budget. Last year, you signed a $34 billion budget. That's a 3,400% increase. Now, sure, of course, there's inflation. That's 727%. And we've had a population increase. That's 57%. But when you render it all down, that's still a 600% increase. That's just growth of government. So, back to the question, how much is enough?
Well, I'd have to go back to 1960 if we have and I'll ask maybe if they have the files, the archives. A business gentleman a couple weeks ago cited from the year 2000 to 2012. And on the surface, that looks like about a 40% increase in spending. But if you take out inflation, as you said, and compare, same constant dollars, it's a 5% increase, and the population's grown 9%. So actually, the state now in 2012 is providing services at a lower cost per resident than it was in 2000. Now, in 1960, government was a different being back then. We didn't have environmental laws and regulations and a lot of other things. So I don't quarrel with your math, but I think if you look at where we are today, and the states are all compared by the federal government, we rank 15th in total state and local taxes per $1,000 of personal income, so 15th highest among the states. We rank 25th in expenditures, total expenditures, education, prisons, transportation, everything. We rank 25th among the states, right in the middle. And those numbers have been going down. We ranked in 1996, we ranked 5th, number 5 in K-12 education spending, and now we're ranked 32nd. And I don't think that's a good thing. Some people, I don't think it's a good thing. So, I think the issue is, again, balance. And, we're not, in real dollars, we cut $2 billion out of the budget in 2011 legislative session for this 2 years, and those cuts continue for the next 2 years unless somebody changes them. So, I couldn't agree more. We need to recognize the need and limited resources to do more with less, and we're committed to that. But it's not a simple equation as it might suggest.
Governor Helen from Duluth.
Hi, thank you. The National Research Council of the National Academy of Sciences, having reviewed 43 government publications, 253 journal articles, 99 books, and its own research, could not identify even one example of gun control that reduced violent crime, suicides, or accidents. So my question is, does the budget include the additional costs for law enforcement and the additional costs that we're going to incur because you can anticipate higher crime rates because of it? If you study the research that's out there, we're pretty confident that if the legislature goes ahead and passes the gun control measures that are in the House and the Senate right now, if any of those bills come forward and you sign them, there'll be law and then there'll be additional expenses because of that. Is that in your budget?
Well, I haven't read the 99 studies that the Academy of Sciences has studied and the like. I mean, to me, requiring background checks on gun shows is the same, which is the same as already being required now on licensed dealers, is not an onerous provision, and it's just, again, goes back to fairness. If the licensed dealers are having to follow these regulations, then why shouldn't others who are selling? And if you're a criminal and you know you can't get a gun through a licensed dealer, then you're going to go somewhere where you can. So to me, it's common sense. I mean, can we stop the misuse of guns in this country, and especially given the numbers that are out there, and given that one person with the guns in the wrong hands, a deranged person, can cause all the horror that they do? I mean, that's a good question, fair question. But to me, just not to try is not an option. And there's a bill, I haven't seen the details, but it's supposed to be coming out with would not require background checks on private transactions if a person sells to somebody else. And the NRA is proposing, according to this article I read today, is proposing additional information on the background checks. I'm not sure what purpose. And then there'd be stiffer penalties for those who are commit illegal acts with guns. So something like that can work its way through and get broad enough support in both the House and Senate. I'll look at it favorably. You're shaking your head, but your mind's already made up, so that's the trouble with this issue. Nobody's going to confiscate the guns. Nobody. I swear, I give you my word. I'm going to put every dollar I possess on the table. And if somebody tries, we're talking about Minnesota and talking about the United States of America, no one's going to confiscate anybody's guns. Lawful people who have lawful possession of firearms. It's such a bogus issue. Your questions are very fair questions. Cost and benefit. I respect that, and that's totally different. But this notion that especially Democrats from urban areas are wanting to go out. I don't have them now at the residence, but I had two, loaded 36 specials and 357 hollow point Magnum bullets in my house when my kids were growing up, and I had a 12-gauge shotgun that, and both the pistols were under lock and key. But I'm aware that if somebody came into my home, the police wouldn't have time to respond, and that was my lawful right, and no one's going to take that away from me, and no one's going to take it away from you.
I've got John from Duluth.
Governor, one of the favorite sons in Minnesota, Hubert Humphrey, once said, and I paraphrase, that how we take care of our people in the dawn of their life and the twilight of their life is a real commitment as to how the government runs. I'm in the senior care industry, and I was pleased to see you bring seniors into your agenda this year. 4 years we've been without increases. 80% of our revenue in the nursing home world is derived from the federal or the state government. So I want you to stay committed to it, and we're going to work with you, and we're going to be out there standing behind you and talking to our people. I run 2 facilities in Greater Duluth, Ecumen Lakeshore and Ecumen Bayshore. Those 2 facilities are about $14 million in payroll. I'm closing beds in Bayshore because I can't staff beds, because I can't hire people, because I can't pay a livable wage. Stay with me.
Well, thank you. And we talk about the balance in terms of the costs and the benefits. There are enormous benefits there, and more of us are going to be aging and requiring assisted living or nursing home care, and we're going to have to figure out how we can afford to pay for it in an era of limited public resources. But thank you.
Governor, I have Joel from Duluth back here.
Thank you, Governor, for coming up here. As a proud dad of a beautiful 6-year-old.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Well, as a proud dad of a beautiful 6-year-old, who the sun rises and sets on, could you go into a little bit more detail on your K-12 education in your budget? Because from my point of view, our class sizes up here in Duluth are too big. And these guys are trying to do their best, but we're just not seeing the help from the state. Could you go into a little bit more detail, please?
Well, as I said before, we went from 5th highest state in state funding for K-12 education in 1996 to 32nd now. So in real dollars, again, after inflation dollars, the state support for K-12 education has dropped by about over 10% in the last decade. And then 2 years ago, despite the major deficit,